Welcome back, everybody. Eagles beat the Cowboys. By the way, I haven't noticed, Tone, and Tone the Shield's in for D-Gun. I haven't noticed any of our Cowboys friends in the chat. I wonder why that is. I mean, it generally, what happens is when they win, somebody kicked over the rock, and then they come crawling out, and we hear from them. And when they lose, it is radio silence. So I'm just curious, maybe it's a coincidence that they're not around today. I wonder.
Man, Rob, let me just keep it all the way funky with you, man. The reality is, if they would have won this game, they would have been relentless. They would have been insatiable. They would have been talking about, we told y'all the Eagles were pretenders. It was only a matter of time. But guess what? Now they're trying to play the humble card. Now they're trying to pretend like, hey, it's only week 9. It's okay. Back to the drawing board. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we learned a lot about ourselves this week. Hey, the Eagles got lucky with all these calls. Last time I checked, the refs called 10 penalties on both sides.
Yep.
10 and 10. 20 penalties were called. And the Philadelphia Eagles did everything possible to give you the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, you could not take advantage of the dish that was given to you, served up nicely on the silver platter.
Yep.
So, no wonder they're MIA. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We need this. We need to send the military police, man, because these guys are what is it? Absent without leave. You know what I'm saying? They went AWOL, but guess what? This is the sad part. Their Cowboys were left KIA, killed in action. So it's all right, man. I understand you got a funeral to attend. I'll be there right there in the rafters, waving my hanky, okay? I'll meet you at the funeral, man. I got the eulogy ready and prepared for you.
All right, so a couple things to dive into here, Tone. Let's not gloss over Jalen Hurts, all right? Let's go back to this for a minute. So against the Cowboys, 17 of 23, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Now, I understand in comparison, throwing for 207 yards is not going to blow anybody away. But if you watch the game, he was highly efficient. He's doing this in a pretty severe amount of pain, despite not letting on, about it. And he's still doing what he has to do. In fact, the last 2 games, 566 total yards, 7 touchdowns, no turnovers. This is a guy who's getting better and better in the pocket. It wasn't just that. Like, even on that first drive, they went for it twice on 4th down. One was a tush push. The other one was a great throw to Goddard.
A
Great throw. A great job by Goddard, too. But, I mean, just excellent throw. And he's getting better and better with those sort of touch balls that aren't deep shots, that aren't sort of wide open, but you got to drop it over the first level of defenders. He is just growing and growing. And it's a shame because one element of his game has kind of been taken away a little bit, minus the tush push with the knee. But he's just adapting and doing exactly what he needs to do to help his team win.
Absolutely. And I think what you're speaking of, right, with that touch, I'll take it a step further and say the ball placement, right? His ability to put the ball exactly where his guy needs it so they can make a play, right? And again, he's just such a clutch performer. He's so dynamic on 3rd down. He's so dynamic on 4th down. Yep. And we have to really, as a football culture, right, as fans of the NFL, and I mean everyone, right, not just us, Rob, and I'm pretty sure this doesn't really apply to us, but I'm just talking to everybody in general. The NFL world has to start putting a lot more respect on Jalen Hurts' throwing ability. He can throw the ball. He can win you games, right? Now, if you want to sit here and debate, who's the greatest arm talent in the NFL? Okay, who's the most talented individual? Okay, all right. You can have those conversations, but the reality is this is the NFL. And everybody's pretty talented for the most part. Everyone has a different varying skill set that allows them to get the job done. Everyone doesn't, just how in real life, everybody doesn't drive the same car, but guess what? You still get to work on time, right? No matter what you're driving. So my point is, Jalen Hurts, he may not throw like a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow or a Josh Allen or whatever. You can listen. I'm not here to debate those guys' talents, but we need to start. We need to start talking about him in the same breath as a guy like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. And I always put Patrick Mahomes, he's just on God tier. That's just a different level of football player. But we had to start putting him in the category with those guys, the Lamar Jackson, so on and so forth. We have to put him in those conversations because not only does he throw the ball very well, you can literally track his progression. You can track where he's taking his game, and he wins. He wins games. Last time I checked, you don't pay quarterbacks for 500-yard performances. You pay them to win games. Organizations are paying for wins. They're not paying for stats because stats help you get paid.
Yeah.
But wins that helps the organization. That helps everyone eat. You dig what I'm saying?
No doubt. And I think the other thing you need to look at, his numbers in the pocket are awesome.
Yeah, Rob, come on.
And the notion is that he doesn't do as well from the pocket. It's sort of unscripted stuff and him taking up. Not the case. It's not. It's just false. His numbers in the pocket are very good.
It's cherry picking. People because he's a dual threat guy. People love to say, "Oh, there's a ceiling on his game, or he can't do this, or he can't do that." And the reality is, last time I checked, he's winning games. He's delivering the ball efficiently. You know what's so crazy? Let me throw something at you, Rob, man, because if we're going to talk about Jalen Hurts, right, we're going to talk about this the proper way. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So over the past several weeks, let's just go back to the Rams game, right? 65.8 completion percentage. The Jets, 62%, his worst of the season, I believe. Then Miami, 74% completion percentage. Washington, 78% completion percentage. Dallas, 74% completion percentage. 2 back-to-back weeks, no interceptions thrown. 3 weeks in a row with a passer rating of over 109. The dude is playing tremendous football. And let's just talk about the career, right? Let's just talk about the progression just as a quarterback in the NFL. Year 1, only starting 4 games. 52% completion percentage. A year 2, first year as a starter, 61% completion percentage. Took his team to a 9-8 record and a playoff berth. Lost the game, but they took him to a playoff berth. 2022, 66% completion percentage. Made it to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, lost the game. Year 4 in the NFL, year 3 as a starter in 2023, 68.9, nearly a 69% completion percentage, almost completing 70% of his passes. 7 out of 10 of the passes he throws gets to the destination, but he can't throw the ball. They better get the hell out of my face, RE.
It's just
they better stop playing.
Yeah, what it is, you're believing some made up narrative, or you're looking at what he was maybe the very first year when he jumped in there, not who he is now, not when he's getting fully formed versus, when he was, in the embryonic stage, if you will. So, I mean, he's just a different guy at this point. And not to mention, look, everybody out there is a tough guy in this sport. Okay. They're all tough as nails. I can't believe what they put their bodies through on a daily basis. But even his own players are like, dude, we came in at halftime. He's getting an IV and, they're working on his knee, but we never had any doubts. Those guys feed off of that kind of stuff that he's able to do with that toughness, that grit, that determination that he brings to the table. And just being out there. Yeah, they believe in him. And that goes a long way, man. It goes a long way. And I think it's one of the reasons why you see this team have the success that they have and the great regular season record, 25-2, with this guy as the quarterback. It's not a coincidence.
Rob, let me ask you a question, right? And this may be a personal question, so stop me here if I go too far. But has there ever been a moment in your life where you had someone that was, that was your leader, or someone that maybe you looked up to, somebody that you admired or respected, and as long as they were around, as long as they were in the right mindset, as long as they were upbeat, you felt like anything was possible. You felt like you felt like no matter what, we're going to come out on the right side of this.
Oh,
right?
100%. 100%. I felt that way.
Have you ever felt that just growing up?
My parents are a good example. And my whole life, they were a great support system. But I've had buddies who, when stuff is hitting the fan, who I can reach out to. All right, let's figure this thing out. We're going to get this thing done and blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of those kind of people in my life. I think it takes a village, man. So, I think this team's full of them. I think they're full of them. Like Hurts is one of those guys for sure. Look at Brandon Graham. We have been talking about how he wasn't, where's he been, blah, blah, blah. yesterday, he makes 3 enormous plays at 35 years old. Look at Kelsey still. I mean, you have the one play where they're in each other's face, and Kelsey's just, like there's something to be said for those guys, and I think Jalen is, even though he's 10 years younger than those guys we're talking about here, is absolutely one of those guys that you just know, all right, this dude's behind me as we're coming out of the tunnel. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. He is absolutely that guy.
Listen, in the words of the all-famous Ja Rule, I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. You feel what I'm saying, Ari? The reality is, Brandon Graham, we've been calling for this man, BG. For the past couple weeks, man, we've been like, damn, like, we understand he's the OG in the group. Fletcher Cox called him an old ass man yesterday. But the reality is, man, when you needed it, my God, BG just came in the clutch a second and a half. You might as well say he had 2 sacks, on that, on that final drive, man. Then he finds a way to push,
enough to get Dak to step out,
or do enough to, and come on, like BG, 34-year-old, like there's no way he should have. You saw how he was hawking Dak down. That's a big man. He felt like he was carrying the ball in chain. It was crazy, but look, it was just, again, man, this offense efficient. What was your thoughts on the play calling throughout the game? Because the reality is, I felt like Brian Johnson called a hell of a game. I saw creativity in the red zone. Things got a little tricky on the final couple drives in the fourth quarter. That's what that was my
only beef. That was
my only beef. I had no problem.
The absolute end game. Like, they figured out a way to get Gainwell involved and be effective. Like that play call on his touchdown on the first drive was beautiful. And he makes a great athletic play with the dive and all that. That was really nice. No, I think there was a lot of good design stuff that went on. I saw a little bit more motion yesterday than we generally see from them. No, I didn't like the deep throw when you were trying to milk clock late. If I'm going to hang my hat on one play that I think they should take back, I don't think they've been great in general as a team, defense and offense, with situational football this year. There's been a couple of instances, like when they threw the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown against Washington the first time.
Okay, so you mean like the closeout games? Like
little.
Right,
that's my real issue generally with the play calling. It's that kind of stuff. But no, I mean, all in all, here's the other thing. A.J. Brown yesterday became the fastest Eagle ever to 1,000 yards receiving. He's done it in 9 games now. Like, it's a very good chance this guy might get to 2,000 this year, and it's being a little bit overshadowed nationally because of what Tyreek Hill's been doing. But the truth is, A.J. Brown's been better over the last 5 weeks than Tyreek Hill. He has. Tyreek Hill got off to a faster start, but A.J. Brown, what he's doing this year is insane. And he had a good game. He didn't go crazy, but he still had a good game yesterday, and it was good. Devontae is always a threat. He's always lurking. And he had the big touchdown catch, and he had a couple other plays that he made over there. It's a shame. Goddard, I felt like, was starting to get into a rhythm when he got hurt. And,
that was a huge third. That was a huge catch by him, though. I mean,
run and huge catch. Yep. So that's tough. And if you're just jumping on with us, Goddard's got a fractured forearm. They're hoping to have surgery today. They're hoping it's only 4 to 6 weeks. If that's the case, to me, that's best case. Like, if that's what it is, I'm okay. I'm okay if that's what it is, because I was thinking done for the year. So that's
man. It's disheartening. We talked about it in the first segment. This is the same point in the season where he got hurt last year. I think last year, I believe it was like a shoulder or like a collarbone, something like that.
Collarbone, clavicle.
And then this season, it's the forearm, man. He's just a. Let's be honest, man. I felt like that Cowboy dude kind of jerked his arm a little bit, but it's it is what it is. But the reality is, man, the way this team is built right now. And look, the schedule only gets harder, right? But you're able to relax, collect yourself. Because this, I would hate to play the Chiefs after this week, because this is the kind of game that takes a lot out of you, just emotionally.
The Germany game, you're saying, or the Eagles game. The Eagles game.
Well, the Eagles game, right, exactly. Yep. Yeah, that game, like the Eagles playing the Cowboys this week, and then if they had to play KC the following week, right? Man, it's just I would not be as optimistic because of what this game required. You know what I mean? Like this game took so much. It took so much out of us. We weren't even on the field.
They have to. So, to a man, they rarely ever say things like this, but almost every one of them was like, "Dude, this bye couldn't come at a better time." Like even Jalen said it. Jalen doesn't give an inch. He doesn't flinch, when talking about being tired or being hurt or any of that. And he even like selfishly, like Slay said, this can't come soon enough. Look, Tone, you got Jalen who's hurt, who's still a young guy. I'm not putting him in the same category with the older guys, but he's hurt. You got Slay in his 30s, Bradbury in his 30s, Fletcher Cox in his 30s, Brandon Graham in his 30s, Lane Johnson in his 30s, Kelsey in
Kevin Byard in his 30s.
Kevin Byard. You got some older cats here who need the rest. They need it, man. So this is a perfect time. And Sirianni's really good with just get away from it, go heal up, get away from football. He knows how to take care of his guys. He does. He's very good at that. And their sports science and all that stuff that they do. So I think you're going to see a rejuvenated, refreshed team. And the other big part is the coaches will stay, locked in and huddled up and try to fix some of this stuff. I feel like on the offensive side, they haven't fully clicked all year, but they can figure this out. The biggest thing is, Tone, they got to get the running game going. And the running game of late hasn't been good enough. Like yesterday's a good example of what you've been getting lately. 33 rushes, 109 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. It's not popping the same way with Swift. I know Boston Scott was out for personal reasons yesterday. Penny got one carry and Gainwell got a little bit of touches. But they have to, for the simple reason of I want them to be able to finish games with their running game and not give the ball back to the opposing team like we saw earlier in the year.
Yeah, and that's kind of this team's bread and butter, right? Typically, they're really good at putting points up, and then they're really good at kind of salting the game away with their running game. And we haven't really been able to see that because the reality is the Philadelphia Eagles last year, you probably would have never, the Cowboys probably would have never saw that ball again. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think this goes back to that bye week. You know what I mean? I think this offensive line definitely needs to regroup. Again, guys like Kelsey and Lane, those boys, man, they definitely need some TLC, some tender love and care, man. But you're right though, ultimately. And another thing, man, this running game is, when Jalen Hurts is not as explosive as where you're accustomed to seeing him be, the running game takes a hit. The Eagles don't have a traditional running game. That's the unfortunate reality. But if they want to extend Jalen Hurts' career, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
They need to find a way to cultivate a traditional running game. Outside of those two outlier games versus Minnesota and Tampa Bay, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, their run game has been pretty league average. So I think they definitely need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, especially after this bye, what's going to be their approach going forward. Because look, every game takes on its own identity, complexion, and you got to do what it takes to win the game. And that's what makes the Philadelphia Eagles special, regardless if it goes against their traditional way of thinking, regardless if it goes against the game plan or what they accounted for, regardless of anything, they have this ability to morph and mold themselves to the moment. And not many teams are capable of doing that. And I think that's where a lot of teams, that trait can make or break a lot of teams. Think about Miami, right? When certain things are not happening, they can't execute. The Dallas Cowboys, when certain things aren't happening, they can't win the game. Yeah. You dig what I'm saying? There's only maybe a handful of teams that can literally morph to the moment, regardless if, perfect example, Travis Kelce was a no-show in Germany. What did Patrick Mahomes do? He found a way to cultivate some offense in a way.
Yeah.
So again, that sliver is what separates the Super Bowl contenders from just playoff contenders. Teams that can just really change the fabric of their identity and mold themselves to the situation.
I agree with you. And what you also see with the teams like that, like for example, Kansas City, you bring up Kansas City. Their offense hasn't been nearly as good as it was last year. Their defense has stepped up, right? The Eagles,
Kansas City's defense is top 5. They're good.
They're really good. What seems to happen with the Eagles is it's game to game, but in game, somebody figures out a way to make a play. Somebody figures out a way to step up for them. And that is something that's absolutely been huge for them for sure. look, the other thing is you're going to have to figure out the tight end situation, whether it's Stahl, Calcaterra, Albert O, whatever, utilizing, maybe Julio in some of those situations. I like what they did on the A.J. Brown touchdown. That was a Goddard play. That they ran.
Good pull by you. Great pull by you. That was a hell of a play call.
Yeah. And that to me, that's great. Adapt, overcome, figure it out, do what you got to do. And that's also the beauty of having a guy who's as big as AJ is. You're not losing a lot in that play, but that was textbook Goddard there, and great job out of Brian Johnson.
Yeah, and I definitely want to give Brian Johnson his flowers, man. Over the past couple weeks, or the past few weeks, Brian Johnson has been calling some good football games, man. And you're seeing this team getting better and better in the red zone. And another thing that we didn't really touch on, regardless of what actually happened, the Eagles didn't turn the ball over in that game.
No, they
they did it. Regardless of what may have happened,
yes,
because we saw some opportunities that kind of went in our favor.
Well, look, if there's two things you want to just sort of take general points of view, they absolutely, and you're right, they didn't yesterday, but they absolutely have to clean that part of it up, right?
Yes.
For the second half. That's got to be cleaned up. It looks like they're starting to get there in the red zone in terms of capitalizing. It was good again yesterday, right? They were better the week before against Washington. Right, and it was good yesterday. So they're getting better there. I'll tell you what they're excellent at, Tone. They're an excellent third down conversion team.
Absolutely.
And fourth down, for the most part, whether it's a tush push or like the throw to Goddard, whatever, they're very good at third and fourth down conversion rate. And that's like when coaches point to things, they point to turnovers, they'll point to conversions, they'll point to getting off the field. So not all of those things. They got to get better at getting off the field. But a lot of those things, the Eagles are starting to trend in the right direction that winning football teams do.
Hey, listen, man, I always harken back to that moment in that Miami game where Jalen Hurts, I think it was like 4th and 6 or 4th and 7, I can't remember. They dropped back, Jalen Hurts dropped back. He runs, he veers off to the right. He finds A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown gets him down to the 1-yard line. And then Jalen Hurts, tush push, brother shoves it in.
Yeah.
He gets back to the sideline. Nick Sirianni says, "That's why I trust you. That's why I trust you." Hurts looked at him and said, "You should."
in typical Hurts,
baby.
Typical Hurts fashion. Yeah, where
on,
he's
man.
just
like Rob. Has there ever been a quarterback? And you've been a fan of this team for a long time.
Yeah.
Has there been a quarterback that's played for this organization in your lifetime that you can remember that's giving you this level of confidence? And when I say confidence, like I'm talking about across the board, no matter the situation, no matter the score, just this guy that you just
he's
say
a
yourself,
rock. He's a pillar.
He's a rock in an ocean. You feel me? Has there ever been a guy who's giving you this level of confidence?
I'll tell you, the first quarterback I remember was Jaworski, and he was really good, but I can't say I felt like this with him. And then it was really Randall after that. Randall was spectacular at times, but there were times where, he kind of would fall off. Then we went through a Donovan, and then it was sort of like Vic and no, not really, man. Honestly, like even when like Wentz was playing his best in 17 before he got hurt, I felt pretty good about him. I'm not going to lie, but it was so short-lived. Like, I just feel like it's much more sustainable long-term with Jalen Hurts than really anybody else. No, to answer your question, no, I've never seen a guy built like wired like this. I've never seen a guy so singularly driven and focused, almost robotic, in his responses to things. That he's different, man. He's really one of one in a lot of ways. Like I don't know how he is the way he is. I give him props for it, but man, is that dude he's just different. He's just different.
Man, just cold-blooded, a stabilizing force, man. Like that dude is like a heart surgeon. He's like a neurosurgeon out there, just calm, cool.
You have to have that. Yeah, he's like a steady hand, man. Like you're in an old-fashioned gunfight. You got to have that guy who's got like no heartbeat, and there's no nerve, and that's him.
Yeah, man. He's like that surgeon in the room where he says, "Play my classical music," and he's just an orchestra out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, like again, there have been games where we've seen this team down by double digits, down at the half, and somehow, some way, he does his job, right? And this is what kind of kills me, right? People love to nitpick his game because they can't nitpick the person. You know what I'm saying? I firmly believe that. They
Yeah.
love to nitpick his game. Every time you talk about Jalen Hurts or try to big up him, right? You know what they say? Well, he's not these guys. He's not that guy. It's like,
Yeah.
well, we're talking about this guy. We're not talking about those guys. You know what I'm saying?
I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, I basically just going to, reiterate the fact that, the reality is the dude is productive.
Yeah.
He wins games. He's somebody that you want leading your organization, your franchise.
I agree.
And he's just a clutch performer. There's some people in this league that you can't quantify what they provide. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to talk about how many yards a guy throws. It's easy to talk about all those metrics, but you can't put a number on what Jalen Hurts provides. And what he provides is something that helps you win games.
What I always say is he's a scorer, not a shooter. He's not going to be this pretty guy. Yeah, he's not like Klay Thompson, just the jump shot's beautiful and all that. He's AI. He figures out a way to score and get it done any way possible. The other thing that he's got that is just so important at that position is he has the ability to forget about a bad play and move on. It doesn't linger with him. And that's I think being, taught well by his dad and those kind of things, and Saban and everybody else he had. But it's also him. He can just put it aside. He like a great example is the Super Bowl when he fumbled. He came right back and scored. That would have put some people in a shell that they would have never recovered from. So I think that's also a big part of this thing. He's mentally tough, which is good. It's not always the prettiest, but he figures it out and how to get it done. And that's huge. I mean, it is so big on this stage. All right, let's come back and talk about the defense, Tone, because that's an area where there's a little more legitimate concern here.
Ooh-wee.
Yes, and yes. So we're going to get into that, but they also did come up big, from a pressure standpoint too, with some sacks and whatnot. But we'll delve into that. We will do a lot of NFL later too. We'll look at some big news with the Giants and what's been a nightmare season for them, which we'll get into. The Commanders yesterday, some guys really stepping up and having spectacular games, individual games. What teams are trending the right direction? What teams are trending the wrong direction? We'll look at the picture, the playoff picture right now in the NFC. And how things set up, because that win to put the Eagles 2.5 games up on the Cowboys going into this week's action with the Cowboys playing and the Eagles off, man, is that enormous. We'll get into all that when we come back. You don't want to go anywhere. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group right now, because knowing who to trust with your finances, it's a challenge. Finding the right person is a challenge. You're going to hear a lot of different things from a lot of different people, but I'm telling you right now, I entrusted my hard-earned work with Jim, and man, I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Whether it's retirement planning, your 401k review, insurance review, you're trying to get employee benefits off the ground for your business, that's another resource that Jim can help you with. I personally have entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollover with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You could also email him as well. Murray, MURRAY .Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.